Dear Black Suit, I suppose I should start by telling you a bit about myself. I migrated to the US from Armenia at the age of 20 to pursue acting, but after years of rejection, I decided that law school was the best second option for me. Now I'm 42 years old and a senior partner at one of the most prestigious law firms in New York, the kind of place where titles matter almost as much as billable hours. I've carved out a corner office and a name that carries weight at my firm. My life is filled with neatly pressed suits, dinners with clients at restaurants that need reservations months in advance, and an apartment that overlooks Central Park. I have the kind of wardrobe that always throws compliments, a business card with embossed lettering, and an address that starts conversations at cocktail parties. I travel when I want, and I indulge when I can. However, my days are a constant agitate of high-stakes negotiations and late-night strategy sessions for my days in court. On the outside, everything in my life is perfect, I suppose. But beneath all that bravado, my personal life isn't what it should be at my age. My world is elegant, but also kind of empty, and my routine isn't entirely fulfilling. I've tried to build connections, to let people in, but it always feels like I'm playing a part. My friends are more like acquaintances, and my family lives 2 time zones away. Our conversations have been reduced to holiday phone calls and infrequent texts. I thought romance would be the answer. I've had relationships, some that felt safe, others that just fell flat. I've been the girlfriend that fits seamlessly into a man's life, the one who meets his friends and laughs at his jokes, but when the bedroom door closed, my entire being failed. I became an actress, telling and giving him everything he wanted. I'd arch my back, let once escape my lips, and move in connection with his body. However, in the end, I faked it all, every time. No matter how tender or wild, how slow or urgent, I was always left unsatisfied. The truth is, I've never climaxed. Not once, not alone, nor with someone else. I thought it was my body. I saw doctors, took hormone tests, and even tried sex therapy. In the end, nothing unlocked that part of me. I started to wonder if something was wrong with me, or if I'd ever feel what everyone else seemed to feel. So, I buried myself in my work. I rose through the firm and surrounded myself with accolades and accomplishments. My busy work life is just a distraction from the emptiness I feel. It wasn't until the day one of my colleagues took me out with a few of her friends. Fatima always complained that I worked too hard. I supposed this was her way of helping me live life more. She introduced me to a married couple, Dahlia and Andrew, at a wine bar just off Houston Street. She made it sound like just another casual night out, but I could tell from the look in her eyes that she had more in mind. I had been too predictable lately. Work, home, repeat. And after 7 years of friendship, I knew Fatima wasn't about to let this rat I was in go unchallenged. Dahlia had soft, feminine features, tanned brown skin, and long black hair that rolled smoothly down her back. Her dark, expressive eyes were kind of mesmerizing. She wore this red dress that caught my eye that night. Dahlia was, without a doubt, a beautiful woman. Her partner, Andrew, was wearing a crisp dark grey suit and had the kind of flirtatious smile whenever he gazed at me. We started with small talk, work, favorite places in the city, how we knew Fatima. Dalia's questions had a way of being intrusive, but not so much as to cause me to get up and walk out. Andrew's eyes followed every answer I gave. This couple played on each other's words and gestures. It was almost as if the two of them were studying me. There was this ease to them that kept me relaxed. When Fatima left, the mood between us turned into something completely different. One I never thought would happen. That was when I knew my closest friend had set me up, turned me loose into the clutches of this couple. Dalia slid closer, her knee brushing mine beneath the table. Andrew leaned in, his voice lowering to a whisper. They suggested going somewhere else, a place more exclusive. "It's nothing serious," Dalia said. She placed her hand on mine. I didn't flinch as her thumb slowly caressed my skin. "Just come with us. I think we have what you've been searching for." I hesitated, but only for a moment. The idea of going home an empty apartment felt more dismal than the ambiguity of following these two to some place I might enjoy. "All right, I'll go," I said, and within minutes we were outside. Dalia's hand remained in mine as Andrew signaled a car that pulled up almost immediately. It wasn't like me to be spontaneous, but I had nothing to lose. If Fatima trusted them, then I was sure these two wouldn't lead me into something I was uncomfortable with. The ride there was quick. I sat quietly through the blur of passing streetlights and quiet conversations between Dalia and Andrew. Before I had time to second-guess myself, we were standing in front of an unmarked door. "Don't be afraid, you've made it this far," said Dalia. She took my hand and we exited the car. Walking up toward the door, Andrew pressed a small yellow button just below the door handle. A sliding door hatch in the upper center of the door opened brusquely, which startled me. The person who opened it gazed at us, then closed it abruptly. Soon after, the door swung open, revealing a narrow hallway bathed in red light. "No pressure," Dalia whispered as she guided me inside. "Just see where the night takes you." I entered, and the door closed softly behind us. Upon venturing forward, it was like I'd walked into another world. The air was warm and humid. It was a blend of perfume and sweat. Soft moans drifted through the dimly lit space, threading through the slow, hypnotic rhythm of the music that pulsed like a heartbeat beneath it all. I knew this sound. The music was from the sensual band Enigma. The song Touchness was playing in the background. The ethereal vocals, the slow, sensual beats, and the way the melodies melted into the air like a sweet mist were fascinating to me. "Touch and kiss me, touch and feel me," sang the sound of the song. It wrapped around me, hidden in every breath and every movement, making the club feel less like a physical space and more like a dream I couldn't awake from. What had Fatima gotten me into? Dalia stepped ahead of me. Her hand was still loosely in mine, but with everything happening around me, I barely noticed her touch. My eyes were instead drawn to the scene unfolding around me. Bodies were moving together in shadowed alcoves. Couples were lost in each other. Some were hidden behind sheer curtains, while others lay exposed, nude and unashamed. This club was a masterpiece of indulgence. Low, ambient ambient lightning submersed everything in hues of deep crimson and black. Plush velvet seating lined the walls, and intimate nooks were designed explicitly for making love. There were mirrors stretched across the ceiling, which reflected glimpses of bare skin, tangled limbs, and the motion of sweat splashing pleasure. My eyes were fixed on the side of it all. The smell was so sweet that it gave me goosebumps. Deeply, I inhaled through my nose and slowly, I exhaled through my mouth to take in all the sensuality of the atmosphere around me. Andrew had stepped behind me, his presence close but not imposing. Beautiful, isn't it? I didn't answer. I didn't even know how to. Dahlia turned her gaze searching mine, waiting. Lana, she crooned, her fingers tightening just slightly around my wrist, grounding me in the moment. You're not scared, are you? I gulped. I've never seen anything like this, I said. Enjoy it. You're about to embark on a pleasure you've been seeking your entire life. If what Fatima told us is true, then this night will forever be yours to cherish. Just let yourself go, Lana. Let it go, said Andrew. Dahlia led us past the last curtain, and suddenly the music wasn't just something playing in the background. It was everywhere. Enigma's melody wrapped around the air, waving through the low sounds of pleasure and the rustle of silk against skin. The room was lit in a golden glow, the kind that made everything feel slowed down. A single bed sat in the center, draped in red sheets, but it wasn't the room or the music that made me breath catch. It was them. There were 3 men stretched across the bed. Their bodies were perfectly languid. The first had tousled dark hair. He studied me with amusement as his hand rested casually on his tanned stomach. The second man's skin was deep and rich in the light. He was leaning back against the pillows, taunting me with his eyes, almost daring me to continue. The third man appeared Persian. He had sculpted cheekbones and bright tanned skin. His gaze trailed over me. Andrew and Dahlia stood on opposite sides of me, their lips almost touching my ears. You can leave, said Andrew. Or you can stay, said Dahlia. I exhaled as sweat seeped from my pores. Dahlia stood in front of me now. But you already know what you want, don't you? I swallowed, my pulse racing. I wasn't sure if I was ready to answer, but I already had. Dahlia's dress slipped from her body. Andrew's shirt followed. There was no rush, no urgency, only quiet expectation. I felt their eyes on me, but it wasn't just Dahlia's or Andrew's, but of the 3 men on the bed watching me just as intently. The dark-haired one sat up slightly. He propped himself on his elbows and gazed at me with a smirk. The one with smooth, deep brown skin began studying me. The man's muzzled, sweaty, sleek chest rose and fell slowly. The Persian man barely moved, only shifting just enough to rest one arm against the pillows, his gaze dancing between Dahlia and me. Dahlia guided me forward, toward Andrew, toward the slow, steady thrum of his heartbeat beneath my palm. This is the night you reach climax, she assured me as her sensual, sweet breath bounced off my ear. I was speechless. How could she have known? Andrew's fingers brushed along my arm, trailing lightly down to my wrist before he stepped back. Dahlia's grip tightened just slightly. She turned toward the bed, the sheets lifting beneath her as she climbed onto it. Her long, black hair spilled over her bare shoulders. She reached for me, and the man waited. Piece by piece, they removed my clothing. Underneath lay the sweat dripping from my skin. "Beauty, the name is Lana," said Dahlia, as the 5 of them gazed upon my nude body. Pulling me onto the bed, Andrew laid me on my stomach, arched my backside into the air, and buried his tongue into my pussy from the back. I gasped as Dahlia situated herself beneath me, engulfing my left breast in her wet mouth while rubbing the nipple of the other. The 3 men massaged me, kissed me, fondled me. This was the excitement I'd been missing. You have to understand, Black Suit, I'd never felt so much pleasure in all my life. This should have felt familiar. A kiss, a touch, the heat of someone else's skin against mine. I had been here before, so many times, but it had never been like this. My first time had been forgettable. It was a rushed, fumbling exchange with a college boyfriend who just wanted to get his rocks off. The men after him weren't much different. Some were sweet, while others were more selfish. Nevertheless, all of them had left me the same, unsatisfied. I had learned to fake it early, to mimic desire like a script I had memorized. It was easier than admitting the truth. But now, with Dahlia's body pressing into mine, with Andrew behind me, and 3 more caressing my body, I knew I'd never been broken. I had just never been free. Dahlia rose from under me and put her tongue in my mouth. Her hands explored my body as if she had been waiting for me to realize it. Andrew's tongue fell away as one of the other men, I wasn't sure which one, entered me. I screamed, almost ready to explode. I turned into Dahlia's touch, my fingers slipping into her hair, pulling her closer. Andrew ran his tongue up my back. The other 2 men kissed and licked my neck. For the first time in my life, I wasn't pretending. This time, I felt everything. The pleasure of an orgasm I'd never known hit me all at once. I cried tears of bliss as a wave of carnal ecstasy almost made me pass out. My screams were so loud that I was sure just about everyone in the place heard me. Every nerve in my body was ignited. Every muscle fiber trembled uncontrollably. There was no searching, no forcing, no pretending, just sensation emanating from my very soul. Dahlia pressed a kiss to my cheek. "You're becoming," she said. Andrew chuckled, brushing his fingers down my spine. "That's it. This is your moment. Savor it," he said lusciously. I flapped on the bed, unable to stop myself from shaking. I had spent so long believing I was missing something, but now I knew the truth. I hadn't been missing anything. I'd been restricting myself. One person had never been enough. One set of hands, one mouth, one presence. None of it could ever hold me the way this did. The way Dahlia did. The way Andrew did. The way the others had penetrated me, caressed me, licked me. I turned into my back, my skin warm against the sheets. Dahlia's fingers played idly with my hair, Andrew resting beside me. The 3 men gathered their clothes and left. For the first time, I wasn't questioning. I wasn't wondering if I could feel more. I had found the answer. Not in searching, not in forcing, but in surrendering. And now I knew I wasn't meant for just one lover, one body, one experience. or one gender. I needed all of it, and I wasn't ashamed. So, Black Suit, I suppose the reason for this letter was to enlighten you on my sexual journey, and why, as a woman like me, I would need more than just one person to be satisfied. I crave the pull in different directions, the contrast of firm and soft, rough and gentle, the weight of multiple bodies, the heat of hands overlapping, mouths meeting mine before I can catch my breath. That's where I lose myself. That's where I belong. I'm writing to you because I need to say it aloud, to name what I am. This is who I've always been. I just didn't know it until now, and I have no intention of ever denying it again. Perhaps your wife felt the same and was too afraid to tell you. Anyway, I hope my letter has given you some insight. Sincerely, Lana.
Seems like Lana spent years ignoring the part of herself that wanted more. She was convinced that pleasure was just out of reach, but when the moment came, she didn't hesitate. While her friend nudged her forward, it was Lana who made the choice. Most people don't. They second-guess themselves for the fear of what the consequences may bring. Lana had learned something that night that most people never will. Desire isn't a flaw, and pleasure isn't something to chase. She didn't stumble into it. She took it by allowing herself to step outside the limits she'd once accepted, by letting go of what she thought she was supposed to want and embracing who she actually was. Lana spoke her truth. My wife never did. That was the difference. Lana laid it out with certainty, and as I read her words, I wondered how many others had spent their lives too afraid to do the same. I wish you luck in your future endeavors, Lana. Never feel ashamed of who you are. I hope you find fulfillment in this life now that you've learned to embrace and explore your desires.